Good morning, students. Welcome back. Let's continue our online classes. And here I am, your English lecturer, Mrs. Noreen Danwell. I hope you had been thoroughly going through the videos which were uploaded for you in the month of April, in which I have completed 3 chapters, 2 from Flamingo and 1 from Vistas. I also hope that you might have purchased the books by now. Flamingo, your main reader, and Vistas, your supplementary reader. Today, I'm planning to start a new chapter from your main reader, Flamingo. The chapters which I have taken in the month of April, in very short, please listen carefully to the feedback. Then I'll continue with the new chapter. In April month, I have taken 3 chapters. One was the last lesson, and the other one was Indigo from Flamingo, and from Vistas, the Tiger King. The last lesson very clearly imparted the moral to us that when we have things, let us value it in time and not to take it for granted. Otherwise, once lost, it's difficult to be regained, even if you regret over it. In Indigo, we people came across how Gandhiji, he succeeded in teaching a lesson of self-reliance to the peasants of Champaran, the sharecroppers, to the Indians to stand on their feet to fight against the Britishers, and how he got an idea to chase out the Britishers from his motherland. The chapter Tiger King is about the facts that people, those who are in power, they think that they can do anything. They can change anything, but it never happens in that way. I'm not going too deep into the chapters. You may please go through the videos. If any doubts, you can make queries as it was to be done in the month of April through the mail. Now let's come to the chapter which I want to start for this continuation of online classes. Chapter 2 from your Flamingo, The Lost Spring. Lost Spring. See the tag given along with it. Stories of Stolen Childhood. A very beautiful chapter in which 2 parts are there. I mean to say, stories of 2 people, 2 children. In this, when we talk about stolen childhood, what do you mean by stolen childhood? Stolen childhood. Bachpan jo chura liya gaya. What do you mean by that? When we talk about this, it means to deprive them of the happiness of being a child. You children are very lucky that you are having all the basic necessities being fulfilled by your dear parents. But there are many in this world, in our country, who are fighting to fill their stomach. And lots of exploitation. When we come out of the house, we can see in a garage, in a hotel, in a restaurant, or in the houses, how the small children, leaving their childhood behind, are burdened with the responsibility of running their family, filling the stomach of theirs and their family. The story is about such children, about such exploitation. Lost Spring has been written by Anis Cham. Let's see something about her. Anis Cham was born in Rourkela and spent her childhood and adolescence in Hyderabad. She received her education in Hyderabad and the United States of America. Her parents were both writers. Anis Cham began her career as a writer in India. She had been an editor and columnist for major newspapers in India and abroad, and has authored several books. The following is an excerpt from her book titled Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. Here she analyzes the grinding poverty and traditions which condemn these children to a life of exploitation. Anisja, as you can see, that she had spent her life maximum in India in a place called Hyderabad, and you all know about Hyderabad. I don't have to paint out anything about it. Then she had got herself educated not only from Hyderabad but also from United States of America. She had a background of a writer family, and then her inclination made her to become an editor, and she started writing down in the papers, and also she authored many books. This lesson which is there in your syllabus is just an excerpt. You all know what an excerpt is. I have told you many times, a small part being taken out and included in your syllabus. This is being taken from her book, which is actually titled as Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. And in this book, she had tried to highlight the poverty which grinds up the poor families and the exploitation done towards the children in the name of tradition. Let's begin the chapter, but before that, let me tell you whom we are going to hear about in this chapter. Two stories, two people. The first character that we will come across is Sahib, and the second character is Mukesh. In the first part, people will come across Sahib's life, who is basically a rag picker. Rag picker, I hope all of you know who a rag picker is. What rag picking is? Kachra uthane wala, kachra binne wala. And Mukesh, he is one of the employee in a bangle making industry. First, we will be focusing on the life of Sahib. In this, we people will come across how the small children set out on a journey from morning till afternoon, looking out for valuable things in the garbages, digging the garbages, looking out for something to fill their stomach, not the waste, my dear children, selling the waste and then filling their stomach. Then we will see about his dreams, the way they live, and whether there is any way out for such people. When we'll come to the next part, then I will give you the introduction of that story also. So let's begin with Sahib's story. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Why do you do this? I asked Sahib, whom I encounter every morning scourging for gold in the garbage dumps of my neighborhood. Sahib left his home long ago, said amidst the green fields of Dhaka. His home is not even a distant memory. There were many storms that swept away their fields and homes. His mother tells him. That's why they left, looking for gold in the big city where he now lives. My dear children, I think this is the story of every second family who migrates to big cities, hoping for a better life and a good livelihood. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Say this highlighted line. Finding a rupee in the garbage is like finding gold. About Sahib, it has been said that our writer one day asked Sahib, whom she happens to meet near about every morning, that why do he come to pick up the waste from the garbage? And this question she asked to him when in her neighborhood one day he was scourging for gold. Scourging for gold doesn't mean actual gold we are talking about. Here gold means anything valuable which will give them any money. Scourging, searching. Sahib, whom this question was asked, that why you do this? About him, a little description author has given to us. She says that Sahib had left his house a long time, home. Actually, he is a resident in Dhaka. And in Dhaka, his house was between fields and greenery. But it is a faded memory today. Lots of storms, one after another, had taken away everything from them. And they packed up everything and looking for goal, means looking for opportunity, looking for a better life, looking for good livelihood. They all moved to the big city where they were living now. Now, the answer to the question which was asked by author to Sahib, why do you do this? This is what she asked Sahib. To that, what answer he gave? I have nothing else to do, he mutters, looking away. Go to school, I say, glibly, realizing immediately how hollow the advice must sound. There is no school in my neighborhood. When they build one, I'll go. Okay. So when Sahib was asked a question that why he do this, the poor chap, he said, I don't know what to do. I have nothing else to do. And then the writer, our author, it came out from her mouth automatically, like it's an instant reaction we people say. Na? So instantly, when he said that, I have got nothing else to do, seeing his age, automatically, without giving a prior thought, it came out from her mouth that why don't you go to school? But then she immediately realized that how hollow, means useless, it sounded of no use. Then this boy, he answered, there is no school in his neighborhood. So if anyone builds one, he will definitely go. So let's see further what was the conversation between the two. If I start a school, will you come? I ask, half joking. Yes, he says, smiling broadly. A few days later, I see him running up to me. Is your school ready? It takes longer to build a school, I say, embarrassed at having made a promise that was not meant. But promises like mine abound in every corner of his bleak world. For that particular moment, that question came out from author's mouth that why don't you go to the school? And then when Sahib said that I don't have any school in my neighborhood, if there happens to be one, I'll definitely go. Then to that question, that statement, our author, means in a half joking mood, she said that, are you ready to go if I build one? This boy smilingly, very broadly, means from one corner of the face to the other, he said, yes, definitely I'll go. Then, a few days later, when he saw the author, he went running up to her. And then he asked, is your school ready? Now just imagine the state of the author who had made a promise which meant nothing to her, but a lot to Sahib. She felt embarrassed. To cover her embarrassment, she said, it takes longer to build a school, though she knew it very well, that she had made a promise which was totally false and which would never ever happen. But then she also knows that these kind of promises are made to this category of people at every corner by all those people who never mean to fulfill it. Their dark world is filled with such kind of promises. After months of knowing him, I ask him his name. Sahib Alam, he announces. He does not know what it means. If he knew its meaning, Lord of the universe, he would have a hard time believing it. Unaware of what his name represents, he roams the streets with his friends, an army of barefoot boys who appear like the morning birds and disappear at noon. Over the months, I have come to recognize each of them. Why aren't you wearing chappals? I ask one. My mother did not bring them down from the shelf, he answers simply. Even if she did, he will throw them off, adds another who is wearing shoes that do not match. When I comment on it, he shuffles his feet and says nothing. I want shoes, says a third boy who has never owned a pair all his life. Traveling across the country, I have seen children walking barefoot. In cities, on village roads, it is not a lack of money, but a tradition to stay barefoot, is one explanation. I wonder if this is only an excuse to explain away a perpetual state of poverty. Now, after knowing him some months, our writer asked him his name. And you know what he said? His name is Sahib A. Alam. You know the meaning of it? It means Lord of the Universe. You just think how it was. The Lord of the Universe was picking up the rags. He's a rag picker. And then the author thought, if I will tell Sahib what is the meaning of his name, which he might not be knowing, it will be very difficult for him to believe that the meaning of his name is Lord of the Universe. And there he was picking up the rags. Without bothering about what his name means, he always roams about in the street with his friends. It's an army of barefoot boys. They appear in the morning like birds, and then they disappear by the noon. After months of being known to them, she started recognizing each one of them. And one day, she asked one boy why he is not wearing slippers, chappals. Then, in a very simple way, he answered, it is kept on the shelf on top of an almirah cupboard, and my mom is not putting it down for me. Then another one, he said, he was already wearing a pair of shoes, which was not matching with his leg size, feet size. He said, even if his mother will take out the shoes and give him his chappals, he will throw it away. And when this another boy, who was wearing a footwear mismatching his feet size, when our author commented on it, he shuffles on his feet. You don't know, like how when a person feels embarrassed, he keeps on moving about from one feet to another. That's called a shuffling his feet. And he said nothing. But another one boy, he said, I want shoes. Maybe most probably he had never owned any pair of shoes in his entire lifetime. And then writer says that when she used to travel across the country, she had seen in many of the places children walking barefoot. In cities as well in villages also. And when inquired, it has been said that it is a tradition to walk barefoot. Do you think that it's a tradition to walk barefoot? No. She thinks that it is just a simple excuse or a lame excuse being given to cover or to hide away the perpetual state of poverty. Perpetual here means never ending. It is never ever going to end up. And that state of poverty is trying to be covered up by the name of tradition. Then she has said about one story. She wrote down one story over here that she had experienced herself. Let's see that story. I remember a story a man from Udupi once told me. As a young boy, he would go to school past an old temple where his father was a priest. He would stop briefly at the temple and pray for a pair of shoes. 30 years later, I visited his town and the temple, which was now drowned in an air of desolation. In the backyard, where lived the new priest, there were red and white plastic chairs. A young boy dressed in a grey uniform, wearing socks and shoes, arrived panting and threw his school bag on a folding bed. Looking at the boy, I remembered the prayer another boy had made to the goddess when he had finally got a pair of shoes. Let me never lose them. The goddess had granted his prayer. Young boys like the son of the priest now wore shoes, but many others, like the rag pickers in my neighborhood, remain shoeless. Now you will think that why the story is being given over here. It's for us to see, read, and understand. The writer says that she happens to meet a man from Unipe, and he said something about the state of poverty, about a boy's dream, a boy's wish, and how it was granted, but situations have not changed yet. She says that the story which was narrated by this man from Mudipi, he said, as a young boy, he used to go to school where an old temple, he has to go past an old temple to his school. And in that temple, his father was a priest. He used to stop front of the temple praying to the goddess over there, asking for a pair of shoes. Imagine. You people might be having numerous number of pairs of shoes, and when a hole comes in that, you go to purchase a new one. And here a child was praying for a pair of shoes. And it has been said that writer says that after 30 years, writer visited the same town and the temple. But now the entire atmosphere was of desolation. Means things were ruined and only ruins were left out over there. But in the backyard, still there lived the new priest with his family. And the priest's house were having red and white plastic chairs. His son, most probably his son, because a young boy means his son, came dressed up in a uniform, wearing socks and shoes, came there panting. Might be running and coming, that's why he was panting, and threw his school bag on a folding bed. And looking at the boy, our writer remembered the prayer that other boy 30 years back has said in front of the goddess about having a pair of shoes, and goddess blessed the priest's son with a pair of shoes. Never to lose it. But the condition of the priest and the son improved with time. But what about the rag pickers of her neighborhood, who are still shoeless, who are still drowned in poverty? This is what she thought within herself when she recalled the incident or the story narrated by the man. We would continue with this lesson in the next class. Till then, goodbye, take care, and kindly go through all the videos of all the subjects. My dear students, you are in 12th standard and you need to be very aware of this fact that these classes which we are taking now, most probably due to lack of time, cannot be taken by us again. So please attend your online classes, let your attendance be marked, and you be thorough with the various lessons. Before I close down for today's online class, if you have any queries with regard to the previous 3 chapters taught in the month of April, you are fully free to mail down in the school website at the query place. I will answer to it at the earliest. Till then, goodbye, stay safe.